Welcome to the Wrestling Analyst podcast, Beyond the Bell. We are coming off one of the most pivotal weeks on the WWE calendar, the final stretch to the Royal Rumble itself, and the first real steps onto the road to WrestleMania. Careers got tested, directions were clarified, and in some cases, entire futures were written in a single night. On today's episode, we're going to take this in layers. We'll start with a week in review, breaking down everything that mattered across Raw, NXT, SmackDown, from AJ Styles' emotionally charged final Raw before putting his career on the line, to the chaos surrounding the Vision and Bron Breakker, to the rising instability in NXT, and the collision of top stars on SmackDown that made the Royal Rumble feel wide open heading into the weekend. Then we'll shift into a full Royal Rumble recap, diving into the women's and the men's Rumble matches, the major championship bouts, and the stories that quietly took shape beneath the surface. Liv Morgan's WrestleMania breakthrough, Sol Ruka and Lash Legend's breakout performances, and Gunther's cementing his legacy as WWE's ultimate legend killer, and Roman Reigns resetting the power structure by winning the men's Royal Rumble. From there, we move into the Analyst detailed storyline breakdown, where we take a step back from match results and talk about something deeper. Control, specifically how the Vision isn't just a faction, but a system, and how Bron Breakker rise isn't about earning power, it's about having power arranged around him. In my opinion segment, we open the door to a brand new multi-part series, Inside the Mind of a Head Booker, the art of long-term storytelling. This week we begin at the foundation, the why, the who, and the what if, drawing from real booking experience to explain how stories that last months, not minutes, are actually built. And finally, in the booking room, we go all in on one of the most compelling long-term ideas WWE has on its hands right now, the faction war between the MFTs and the Wyatt Six. A battle not just for the WWE Tag Team Championship, but for Bray Wyatt's lantern itself, for legacy, for meaning, and for factional supremacy all the way to WrestleMania. We'll wrap things up with a quick historical note and a preview to round out the episode. So buckle up, because this isn't just a recap show. This is about patterns, purpose, and where the WWE is really headed next. Let's get into it and go Beyond the Bell. Welcome to the Wrestling Analyst podcast, Beyond the Bell, where the real story begins after the final bell. I'm your host, Night Stalker Luc Baudier, and together we'll break down the week's biggest moments, analyze storylines, and bring you opinions that hit harder than the steel chair. We will also explore how I would be booking a storyline if I were head of creative. Because here, every match tells a story, and we're here to break it down. So hit subscribe, leave a like, and click that notification bell, and let's go Beyond the Bell. So let's start with the weekend review with Monday Night Raw. AJ Styles and CM Punk set the tone. AJ Styles opened the show with an emotional promo ahead of his career-threatening match versus Gunther at the Royal Rumble. CM Punk interrupted, and what started as mutual respect turned into a huge surprise World Heavyweight Championship match being set for the main event that same night. Women's 6-women tag kicks off in-ring action. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Stephanie Vaquer defeated Liv Morgan, Roxanne Perez, and Raquel Rodriguez. There was continued tension between Vaquer and Rodriguez, teased next week's street fight. Bron Breakker was reinstated. Raw GM Adam Pearce apologized to Bron Breakker, lifted his suspension, and announced that all members of the Vision are in the Royal Rumble. Austin Theory versus Rey Mysterio. Theory beat Rey Mysterio with chaos afterwards as the Vision laid out Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and Penta. Breakker stood tall. The tag team title picture clarified. Alpha Academy, Otis and Akira Tozawa, won a fatal four-way over the New Day, the Creed Brothers, and Los Americanos. They are now #1 contenders for the Usos tag team titles. And in the main event, Punk versus Styles ended in chaos because it ended with a DQ when Finn Balor interfered. Balor viciously attacked Punk post-match, inserting himself directly into the title picture. So the big takeaways from Raw: AJ Styles' possible final Raw felt emotional but unresolved. Finn Balor is firmly back into the world title scene, at least for now. Alpha Academy gets a surprise title shot, and the Vision is fully rearmed, heading into the Royal Rumble. So now on with NXT, where the show opened in chaos. Joe Hendry was found laid out backstage, attacked by a steel chair, probably by the Vanity Project. Because Hendry wasn't cleared, Jackson Drake was temporarily awarded a spot in the upcoming NXT Championship ladder match, with the caveat that Hendry could still be added if medically cleared. So the NXT Tag Team Championship, Dark State, Osiris Griffin, and Shakon Sugars retained against OTM, Bronco Nima, and Lucian Price. Interference from the Vanity Project sparked a huge tag team division brawl. Then the Culling jumped Dark State post-match, making the division feel wide open. Jada Parker returned strong. Jada Parker defeated Nikita Lyons in decisive fashion. Blake Monroe appeared after, signaling Parker is firmly in her sights next. NXT Championship ladder match qualifiers. Dion Lennox defeated Miles Bourne after distractions involving Ethan Page. Bourne snapped and nailed Page with the North American title afterwards. And Keanu Carter beat Andre Chase, then brutalized him post-match to send a message to the field. In the women's division, Thea Hale upset Zarya thanks to interference from Tatum Paxley. After the match, Zarya shockingly laid out Hale, showing cracks in their uneasy alliance. Lexis King keeps rolling. Lexis King defeated Tavion Heights, aligning more closely with Stax and Ariana Grace, while leaning hard into his bright birthright entitlement persona. And Tony D'Angelo appeared throughout the night under security watch. NXT GM Ava made it clear that NXT needs him. Tony promised to reveal his intentions next week. So on with SmackDown. So massive opening promos set the Royal Rumble tone. Cody Rhodes kicked off the show talking about regaining momentum and possibly winning the Royal Rumble for a third time. He was interrupted one-on-one by Randy Orton, by Randy Orton, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn, all declaring their own Royal Rumble intentions. Paul Heyman and Division crashed the party, leading GM Nick Aldis to book an 8-man tag main event for later. United States Open Challenge. Carmelo Hayes defeated Rey Fenix in a very fast-paced match, and that match was very, very good. Another strong defense cemented Hayes as one of SmackDown's most reliable champions. Women's tag team match. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss defeated Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. Post-match tensions continued across the women's division with multiple Royal Rumble contenders crossing paths. Axiom versus Johnny Gargano. Axiom defeated Johnny Gargano, reclaiming his mask and picking up a meaningful win ahead of the Royal Rumble. Ilya Dragunov defeated The Miz decisively, maintaining his aura heading into the Royal Rumble weekend. AJ Styles and Gunther face to face. AJ Styles promised to beat Gunther and officially begin his phenomenal farewell tour. Gunther fired back, dismissing it as fantasy. The tension felt raw and personal just days before the career-defining moment and match. And in the main event, Chaos rules. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn versus the Vision ended in a DQ after Drew McIntyre interfered. Jacob Fatu attacked McIntyre, and the show ended with Bron Breakker flattening Rhodes and Zayn with massing spears, standing tall as SmackDown went off the air. So the big takeaways from SmackDown is the Royal Rumble field feels wide open with multiple top stars colliding. Carmelo Hayes continues to shine as U.S. champion. Bron Breakker closed strong across Raw and SmackDown, looking like a serious Rumble threat. And AJ Styles versus Gunther feels genuinely unpredictable heading into the weekend. Now, maybe it was unpredictable. It felt unpredictable, but I did predict in my video that AJ Styles would lose the match. One thing more to add with Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov's storyline, and The Miz saying that Hayes asked Miz to interfere in the match to protect his title. So that's a dynamic that's getting some traction there. So we'll see what happens next week on SmackDown. So now let's get to the Royal Rumble itself. The Women's Royal Rumble. The winner was Liv Morgan. Now, in my predictions video, I stated that would be Bianca Belair if she came back. She didn't. And one of my best choices for winning the Rumble was effectively Liv Morgan if Bianca Belair wasn't coming back. So Liv Morgan winning the Rumble makes a lot of sense, and she will probably challenge Stephanie Vaquer for the title if Raquel Rodriguez doesn't win the title tomorrow in the street fight. Sol Ruca and Lash Legend had breakout performances during that Rumble. Natty made her debut and made it clear that she is targeting Becky's title during the Rumble. Asuka got inadvertently eliminated by Kairi Sane. This will be the official start of Kairi's storyline, where she will eventually turn on Asuka and be on her way to be a main eventer and probably win her first world title against Asuka at some point in time. The biggest story in that match was Liv Morgan eliminating Raquel Rodriguez. You can expect fireworks on Monday night. And I expect Liv Morgan, like I said, to challenge Stephanie Vaquer at WrestleMania unless Raquel wins the title in the street fight Monday. Now picture this. Liv comes out Monday and says she will challenge Stephanie Vaquer for the world title at WrestleMania. Later on, Liv prevents Raquel Rodriguez from winning the title on Monday without Raquel knowing it. Maybe a hooded attack again? I don't know. We keep that mystery until WrestleMania, where Liv wins the title over Vaquer, maybe with help from Raquel herself. After WrestleMania, it is revealed that the mystery attacker that prevented Raquel from winning was Liv Morgan. Maybe Raquel discovers that this guy is underused by Liv to make her lose the title match against Vaquer on a backstage camera, or a backstage camera reveals images that Liv was hiding under the hoodie. Could make things interesting. We'll see tomorrow night. AJ Styles versus Gunther was everything that fans would ask for. One of the most emotional matches of the night saw AJ Styles put his career on the line against Gunther. In a slow burn, brutally physical contest, Styles fought with everything he had, drawing deep from years of experience and resilience, but Gunther's relentless dominance ultimately proved too much. Styles refused to tap, instead passing out in Gunther's sleeper hole, seemingly bringing his WWE career to an end in the most defiant way possible. The Riyadh crowd gave Styles a standing ovation, fully aware that had just witnessed what felt like the closing chapter of one of WWE's most influential careers. But, as I mentioned in my prediction video last week, that moment may not have been a full stop. Styles briefly removed his gloves, the traditional symbol of retirement, only to put them back on before leaving the ring. To me, that felt intentional. I still believe AJ has one final run left, likely in TNA, and potentially even one last run with the TNA World Championship before truly walking away. Meanwhile, Gunther continued his merciless march as wrestling's ultimate legend killer, now having retired John Cena, Goldberg, and AJ Styles, or at least the WWE chapter of his career. Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre for the undisputed WWE Championship. In what many expected to be a long overdue feel-good moment for Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre once again slammed the door shut. Zayn fought with everything he had: heart, resilience, and the unwavering support of a crowd willing him forward. But McIntyre never lost focus. Every time Sami built momentum, Drew met it with raw power, physical dominance, and a champion's ruthlessness. In the end, a decisive Claymore put a hard stop to the dream and allowed McIntyre to retain the undisputed WWE Championship, continuing his stranglehold on the title. And yet this loss felt different because it felt deliberate. Zayn didn't fail because he wasn't good enough. He failed because McIntyre has become the one obstacle he has never been able to solve. That's exactly why, as I laid out in last week's podcast, this story shouldn't end there. The roadmap to SummerSlam practically writes itself. Sami continues to chase, continues to grow, and continues to fall just short until the moment finally arrives, when he finally overcomes not just Drew McIntyre, but a psychological weight of always coming up second. This match reinforces McIntyre's status as a truly dominant champion, but more importantly, it defined him as Sami Zayn's final boss. When that rematch finally happens on the biggest summer stage, the payoff won't just be a title change. It'll be the culmination of a story about perseverance finally conquering inevitability. And finally, with the Men's Royal Rumble match, well, Roman Reigns won and will likely challenge CM Punk for the world title, for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, in an opinion segment I made a couple of weeks to a month ago, I named 6 potential women winners and 6 potential men winners. And in those people, I named both Liv Morgan and Roman Reigns. I had either Cody or Gunther winning, but Reigns is a good choice too. I would not have gone that route, but that's the route that WWE decided to go. Obafemi debuted at number 1 and had a Lesnar-like run to start the match, eliminating multiple opponents. He was finally eliminated by Brock Lesnar himself, setting up a future clash between the past dominant beast and the future dominant ruler of WWE. Bron Breakker, who was entering number 2, was attacked by a hooded figure before entering the ring. That man used a stomp on Breakker and threw him in the ring, only to be immediately eliminated by Femi. Was it Rollins or was it somebody else? Recently, in one of my my segments, I was saying that maybe Austin Theory was a plant from Seth Rollins to derail the Vision from within. So was that Austin Theory foiling the Vision's plan for Seth Rollins at that time yesterday? We'll see where that goes, but keep in mind that I've been saying that Austin Theory is working from within the Vision for Seth Rollins. LA Knight returned and immediately targeted the Vision, eliminating both Austin Theory and Bronson Reed before getting eliminated by Cody Rhodes. Now, a lot of people online are mad about the fact that LA Knight didn't win the Rumble again. They feel that LA Knight is getting screwed over and over and over again. But the thing is, being eliminated by Cody actually protects LA Knight because he wasn't eliminated by a random mid-carder. The fact that he's eliminated by Cody Rhodes says that he is a top star. He's just not there yet. I know a lot of people say he should be in the main event. He should be a world title holder. But the WWE Unreal documentary tells me that he's not ready because a main event level talent should deliver on what a finish of a match. A main event level guy should be able to deliver on this. And in the ladder match, in the Money in the Bank ladder match last year, Knight fucked it up. It was built to build him even more, and he fucked it up. And that should happen to a main event guy. Cody Rhodes was eliminated after an interference from Drew McIntyre. So what's going to happen now? Who will Liv Morgan challenge? Is she going to challenge Stephanie Becker? I think so. We'll see what happens on Monday Night Raw with Becker versus Rodriguez in that street fight. I expect something to happen somewhere to prevent Becker, to prevent Raquel from winning the title. Or maybe Raquel wins the title and we have a Raquel versus Liv at WrestleMania. That's a possibility as well. Who is Roman going to choose? Is he going to choose CM Punk or is he going to choose Drew McIntyre? I see more a challenge to CM Punk because I think that the WrestleMania match will be Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu in a triple threat match for the title, where I think Drew McIntyre will retain the title. Okay, so for my detailed storyline breakdown, when we talk about wrestling storylines, most of the time we're really talking about matches. Who's fighting who's winning, who's next. But every once in a while, WWE tells a story that isn't actually all about matches at all. It's about control, it's about permission, it's about who decides what power looks like before anyone ever earns it. And right now, that story is the Vision. And more specifically, Bron Breakker's forced ascension. Because make no mistake, this is not the story of a man clawing his way to the top. This is the story of a man being installed there. First lie, Bron Breakker is being pushed because he's ready. Let's start by dismantling the most common surface level take. You'll hear people say, well, Bron Breakker is just getting pushed because he's a freak athlete. And yes, he is. But that's not the story WWE is telling. Because if this were about readiness, Bron would be winning matches clean, cutting dominant promos, and standing tall on his own terms. Instead, Bron Breakker is being placed into moments, not earning them. He doesn't demand power. Power is arranged around him. That distinction is everything. Point 2. The Vision is not a faction, it's a system. The Vision isn't like the Bloodline. It's not like the Judgment Day. It's not even like Evolution. Those groups were about identity. The Vision is about infrastructure. Paul Heyman, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Bron Breakker. These aren't equals. They're components. Each one represents a different form of leverage. Media influence, political manipulation, physical intimidation, opportunism, and finally, inevitability. Bron Breakker isn't the leader, he's the end result. Point number 3. Adam Pearce blinked, and that's the story. Let's talk about the most important moment in this entire arc, and it wasn't even a match. It was Adam Pearce apologizing. Pearce suspended Bron Breakker. He tried to exert authority, and within a week, that authority collapsed. Not because Bron fought back, not because the locker room rebelled, but because Paul Heyman reframed the narrative. Suddenly, the suspension wasn't discipline, it was injustice. Suddenly, Pearce wasn't a boss, he was an obstacle. And suddenly, reinstating Bron wasn't weakness, it was doing the right thing. That's not a babyface win. That's a system correcting itself in favor of power. And when Pearce not only reinstates Bron, but puts all of the Vision into the Royal Rumble, that's not fairness, that's surrender. Bron Breakker rarely speaks, and that's intentional. Here's something that subtle that WWE is doing brilliantly. Bron Breakker doesn't cut long promos. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't justify his presence, because explanation implies depth. Bron is presented as something you don't debate. You react to it, or you get run over by it. That's why Paul Heyman speaks around him, not for him. Heyman isn't telling you Bron is great. He's telling you resisting Bron is pointless. That's a very different kind of persuasion. Point 5. The SmackDown invasion was a declaration, not a match. When the Vision showed up on SmackDown, the opponents weren't random. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. That's not just star power, that's philosophy. Each of those men represents a different earned path. Cody fought legacy and expectation. Orton survived generations. Jay escaped a system that defined him, and Sami clawed upwards through belief, not design. They are living proof that the hard way still exists. And Bron Breakker spearing Cody and Sami at the end of the night, that wasn't dominance, that was WWE saying the hard way might still exist, but it's no longer required. Sixth, the Royal Rumble is not the destination, it's the test. Here's where most fans misread this storyline. They think the question is Bron Breakker going to the Royal Rumble? That's the wrong question. The real question is, who does WWE allow Bron Breakker to erase? If Bron Breakker eliminates Cody, that matters. If eliminates Sami, well, he was not in the Rumble, that matters more. If Bron eliminated Randy Orton, that was a message. Bron didn't need the win. He just needed to reorder. He just needed to reorder the hierarchy. That's how long-term dominance begins. And that's not what happened in the Rumble. He got eliminated right off the bat by Obafemi, which is going to be one of his main opponents for the next generation of superstars. And that fast elimination from Braun with that masked figure changed the whole thing. Maybe those things that I just talked about are going to happen next year at the Rumble. Paul Heyman's endgame isn't a champion, it's a vacuum. Paul Heyman doesn't chase titles, he chases absence, the absence of resistance, the absence of alternatives, and the absence of hope. His greatest success, Brock, Roman, weren't just champions. They made the roster feel smaller. Bron Breakker is being shaped to do the same thing. Not to dominate matches, but to dominate possibility. Number 8, the most important future beat when Braun chooses, and this is why the story doesn't end tonight. Because eventually, not now but later, Bron Breakker is going to have to make a choice. Not between belts, between being used and being in control. Every system like this eventually creates its own contradiction. And when Braun realizes he's not the architect, just a weapon, that's when the story truly begins. The Vision isn't asking for your approval. They don't want you to cheer. They don't care if you boo. They want you to accept that this is how things are now. And the most dangerous thing is in wrestling storyline isn't the monster, it's inevitability. Okay, so my opinion segment, this is going to be in my opinion segment, but it's not really an opinion. It's more like inside the world of wrestling. So this is inside the mind of a head booker, the art of long-term storytelling, part 1. Building motivation, conflict, and future moments. Ever wondered how your favorite TV show builds those epic rivalries or delivers shocking plot twists season after season? It's not magic. It's a meticulously planned strategy by head writers. Today we're pulling back the curtain on the art of long-term storytelling, revealing the precise booking decisions that shape character arcs and orchestrate those pivotal unforgettable moments. Starting today and for the next few weeks, I am making a series of opinion segments about booking storylines. We will break down what truly goes into crafting those unforgettable arcs, the slow burns, the twists, the payoff moments, and the rivalries that keep fans invested. We're pulling apart the strategy, the psychology, and the careful planning behind world-class booking and looking at how great storytellers turn simple ideas into epic, season-spanning narratives. This week, we're breaking down the earliest stages of any great storyline. We'll explore the why, that first spark that hooks an audience, the who, the initial character sketch that shapes motivations, flaws, and voice, and the what if, the early conflict brainstorming that plants the seeds of long-term payoffs. And throughout the episodes, I'll pull from my own experiences as a booker, the choices I've made, the mistakes, the surprises, and the strategies I've learned from building characters from the ground up. Let's dive into the foundation of powerful storytelling, where every great angle truly begins. Every long-term storyline begins the same way. Not in front of the crowd, not in the ring, but in the mind of the booker. Before the promos, before the rivalries, before the big match graphic hits social media, everything starts with a spark. A single idea that feels alive. And today we're talking about how that spark grows into a story that the audience can't help but follow. But before diving into the framework, the why, the who, the what if, I want to take you back to my early booking days. Well, my late booking days. Because my philosophy didn't come from theory, it came from necessity, frustration, and a desire to turn something flat into something fans would feel. When I started wrestling in a promotion based out in Lachine, Quebec, the product had good wrestling, solid in-ring work, talented performers, plenty of potential, but the booking was what you'd call spot show booking. You'd go to a show, enjoy it, and leave. But there wasn't a hook that pulled you back for the next time. There were no compelling storylines, no threads connecting shows together, nothing for fans to follow across multiple events. And for me, that was a huge missed opportunity. Wrestling is an episodic medium. It thrives on anticipation. Fans want to feel like they're watching a world that keeps moving forward. So when I agreed to wrestle there, I did it under one condition. I would book my own storyline for the first 2-3 shows. Not because I needed creative control for ego reasons, but because I knew the product needed more narrative glue, something that would make fans say, I need to see what happens next. I even offered to help with the booking for the entire federation to elevate the overall storytelling, and they accepted to give me the booking duties for the whole federation after 2 months. But my debut, I wanted it to be more than just another match. No entrances, no lockups, no pinfall. Just a statement. So on night 1, as a heel, I attacked one of the promotion's top 3 baby faces. A personal trainee of mine, someone I knew could sell the emotion, someone the fans respected. And after his match, I destroyed him, left him laid out, and grabbed the mic. My promo was simple but powerful. I told him that as my pupil, I expected better, that the company he kept, his allies, his choices were beneath what I had trained him to be. And in 2 weeks, I'd do it again, and again, and again, until you learn the difference between loyalty and weakness. No match for me that night. Just a hook, just a spark. And the reaction from the fans who came back next show proved something. Wrestling without story is just moves. But wrestling with story, that's magic. Now, with that foundation, let's break down the creative process behind moments like this. The philosophy behind building arcs that last months instead of minutes. 1. The why. The emotional reason a story exists. Before designing a character or booking a segment, I always start with one question. Why should the audience care? This is the core of good storytelling. In my Lachine debut, the why was crystal clear. I wanted the reason for fans to come back in 2 weeks. I wanted to establish myself instantly as a threat. And most importantly, I wanted to create a personal grudge fans could emotionally connect to. The why gives weight to every choice that comes later. It doesn't matter how good the moveset is, how charismatic the performer is, or how flashy the angle looks. If the audience doesn't understand why the story matters, it won't stick. The why is the seed that creates longevity. 2. The who, the character blueprint. After identifying the why, the next question is, who is this character really? Not just a gimmick, the person. When I crafted the heel persona for my debut, I knew exactly who I was. A bitter mentor who believes their trainee has strayed. Someone who sees themselves as the higher standard. Someone who uses emotional manipulation and violence to teach lessons. A character built on pride, frustration, and superiority. And because I knew that, I also knew my trainee was, in this story, a respectful babyface, someone torn between loyalty and self-worth, and a wrestler the fans could rally behind after being humiliated publicly. Before anything happens in the ring, the who gives structure to the story. It answers questions like, what motivates this character? What are their flaws? What do they want the most? What are they willing to sacrifice to get it? What emotional truth drives them? A strong who is what makes the audience say, I know this person, even though they're watching a scripted performance. 3. The what if, the engine of long-term storytelling. Once you know the why and the who, this is where the fun begins. What if? This is where long-term storytelling takes shape. What if is the sandbox of the booker's mind. For my Lachine storyline, the what ifs were everywhere. What if the trainee fights back too early and pays the price? What if he turns the tables months later with a surprise attack of his own? What if my character pushes him so far he has to transform, new gear, new attitude, new confidence? And we'll get to that. What if the fans demanding the payoff match louder and louder heat show? What if transforms a single idea into a 6-month arc? It gives you room to explore, adapt, and let performers grow into the story. And here's the most important secret. You don't need to know the ending right away. You just need to plant the seeds with potential. That's how stories gain momentum. When you combine these three elements, the why, the who, and the what if, you get the foundation of any great storyline. Whether it's wrestling, TV writing, or any long-form narrative, these principles hold true. My time booking and Lachine taught me something I still believe in today. Moves entertain the eyes, stories capture the heart, and the spark, that tiny moment of inspiration, is where it all begins. And that brings us to next week's episode of Inside the Mind of a Booker, of a head booker, where we move from the spark of an idea to the people who bring that idea to life. Stay tuned. The creative journey is just getting started. Okay, so today in my booking room segment, the faction war over the WWE Tag Team Championship. So this week we're stepping away from singles titles and Royal Rumble winners and easy headline booking. Because what's unfolding right now in WWE is something far more dangerous. This isn't just a tag team rivalry. This isn't just a faction feud. This is a war over legacy, control, and supremacy between the MFTs and the Wyatt Six. And it needs to carry all the way to WrestleMania. And the most important detail, the lantern is already in the wrong hands. So the most important fact, the MFTs have the lantern. Let's establish this immediately. Bray Wyatt's lantern, the symbol of fear, identity, and vision, is already being held by the MFTs. And more importantly, it's in the hands of Solo Sikoa. That changes everything because this is no longer about earning Bray Wyatt's legacy. It's about appropriating it. Why the lantern matters more than the titles. Championships can change hands. Legacies are supposed to be protected. The lantern isn't just a callback. It isn't nostalgia. It represents control through fear, chaos with intention, power that doesn't ask for permission. When Solo Sikoa carries that lantern, the message isn't respect. The message is, we took this and we'll decide what it means now. And that's exactly why Wyatt Six can't ignore it. The MFTs, power without understanding. The MFTs believe in structure. They believe in hierarchy, loyalty, enforcement, and unity through dominance. They see the lantern as just another weapon, another symbol they can bend, another image they can control. Solo doesn't wield it with reverence. He wields it like a warning, and that's the fatal mistake. Because Bray Wyatt's power was never about intimidation alone. It was about belief. The Wyatt Six, you don't steal what still breathes. The Wyatt Six don't want the lantern because it belongs to them. They want it back because it's being misused. In their worldview, Bray's legacy was never meant to be owned. It was meant to be spreaded. So this feud's become something much darker than a title chase. It becomes, you're wearing something, you are wielding something you don't understand, and that's unforgivable. So let's get into the booking itself. During the month of February, the reckoning begins. The Wyatt Six do not attack immediately. Instead, they haunt the lantern. Lights flicker when Solo raises it. Audio cuts during MFT promos. The lantern briefly goes dark on its own. Camera shots linger too long on it. The message is subtle but terrifying. You didn't take this, you're borrowing it, and time is running out. Meanwhile, the MFTs keep winning matches, but Solo starts holding the lantern tighter. That's fear creeping in. Act number 2. You can't control what you don't respect. The first physical attack doesn't target the champions. It targets Solo Sikoa. Let's just imagine a backstage segment. Solo is alone, lantern in hand, lights cut. When they come back on? Solo is laid out and the lantern is placed on his chest. Not taken, placed. That distinction matters. The Wyatt Six aren't thieves, they're judges. Next up, Elimination Chamber. Titles retained, authority questioned. MFTs versus Wyatt Six. The Lanterns at ringside still with Solo, and the MFTs retain. But during the chaos, Solo drops the lantern, it rolls into the ring, nobody touches it, the Wyatt Six retreat, the MFTs leave with the gold, but the camera lingers on Solo staring at the lantern. He won, and yet he looks shaken because dominance doesn't feel the same anymore. So we get to March. Supremacy versus belief. Now the feuds become full faction warfare. Multi-man chaos. Members isolated and targeted. Matches collapsing into violence. The MFTs grow aggressive, they tighten control, they overreact. Solo uses the lantern more often, almost obsessively. Meanwhile, the Wyatt Six never touch it. They don't need to, because they know. Eventually, Solo will have to choose between power and understanding. So, after all this, we get to WrestleMania. Everything is on the line. And you don't end this with a normal tag team match. You end it with judgment. Faction warfare match. The MFTs versus the Wyatt Six. The WWE Tag Team Championships and Bray Wyatt's lantern suspended above the ring. No DQs, no countouts, no escape. This isn't about climbing a ladder. It's about who deserves to walk out carrying the meaning. The finish, Legacy decided the Wyatt Six reclaimed the lantern and the titles. They win the war. They don't celebrate. They don't pose. They simply take the lantern and walk away. The final message: you cannot steal belief. Today in WWE history, well, last year Jey Uso won the last year's Rumble, setting up his title match versus Gunther. In 1983, Lex Luger made his WWE debut as the Narcissist. And in 2001, Damian Priest also made his debut, defeating The Miz. Next week, in my Analyst detailed storyline breakdown, I'm not decided on anything for this right now. I will see what's going to happen this week and make a decision. There are some storylines that I'm thinking about, but I want to see if something pops up this week that would be more interesting to break down than what I have maybe in my head right now. In my opinion segment, I'm going to make the second leg of my Inside the Mind of a Head Booker series, where I'll explore the art of casting, choosing the right stars for the right stories. And in my booking room segment, I have not decided, but here are some possible subjects depending on what happens on Raw tomorrow. Liv Morgan's road to WrestleMania, Roman Reigns' road to WrestleMania, and Becky Lynch's Intercontinental Championship run and the feuds with Natty and Maxine. And that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Wrestling Analyst podcast Beyond the Bell. Thanks for joining me as we break down the stories, the drama, and the action that keep the wrestling world turning. If you enjoyed this week's deep dive, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with your fellow wrestling fans. Follow me on social media for wrestling updates, hot takes, and join my community on Twitter or X. Got a prediction or fantasy booking idea? Get a storyline you'd like me to break down? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep your eyes on the ring, your ears on the stories, and remember, when the bell rings, the analysis begins. See you next week on Beyond the Bell. That's it for this week, and thank you for listening to the Wrestling Analyst podcast Beyond the Bell. If you loved what you heard, smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the action. Got opinions? Share them in the comments. I want to hear your take. So until next time, stay loud, stay proud, and keep going beyond the bell.